What is good? This is Ari Mac. If you have been following my channel recently, you know that I can't shut up about the Traitors, the mafia/werewolf experience that has been dominating the reality competition arena for the last 3 years. And after digesting 9 total seasons across 4 different countries, I think it's time for me to don my surgery gloves, grab my stitching needle, and create the perfect Traitor season. In this video, I'm going to assemble the elements that I think already work brilliantly, reshape some of the mechanics currently in use, mainly from the US and the UK versions, as well as add a few new ideas that I think will bring out the best strategies this show has yet to explore. This production meeting is underway. I got my slideshow and pointer ready. Get your pen and paper out and let's get into it. The first day and first roundtable. I'm already in love with how most of the seasons open, but I think some of the best meet and greets have come from the UK version, as they keep finding different and more dynamic ways for new contestants to introduce themselves. Moving on to the Traitor selection, this scene is just iconic.
If you feel my touch on your shoulder, then you are a traitor.
The slow walk, the multiple laps, the touch on the shoulder. It is just the perfect mood setter. There's no reason to change this. Here comes my first new idea, the introduction of the Traitor's task. Periodically, traitors must complete a task to earn the right to murder. Now, the faithful will know that a task is in progress, but they will not know exactly what it is. Perhaps a gong could ring somewhere in the castle to let the players know that the task has been completed, or the host could announce it at the next roundtable. Should the traitors fail, they will lose the right to murder that night, but the faithful will get to banish twice. What this does, this will add more intrigue in the castle and during the missions. It forces the traitors to be more active, which will lead to better, more meaningful discussions at the roundtable. A double banishment in place of a failed murder will balance out the 2 people must leave per episode pacing, and a failed murder can also cover up a recruitment twist should it arise. Moving on to the first Traitors meeting. I love this, especially from the US and UK versions. The oath taking, the putting on the robes, the setting, it's just delicious. I love a little flair of the dramatic, and this sequence always ticks that box. Here, the traitors meet each other for the first time, which works well, but here comes a small second change. Get rid of the first night murder. Just let all the contestants play at least one mission before someone gets the axe. I always feel bad for the first boot who leaves without doing anything. Instead of the first night murder, we can introduce that traitor's task, which can include each traitor must locate a specific item and put it in a final spot all at once, sabotaging a mission so the total earnings don't exceed a specific amount, ensuring that a traitor obtains a shield for one mission, persuading another player to do something, like entering a room, writing a note, ringing a bell, retrieving a glass, solving a puzzle or a riddle before lights out or before another deadline, moving an item from one room to another, but it must pass through all traitors' hands before it reaches its final destination, secretly assembling and placing the traitor's flag during a mission, or something even as crazy as a traitor heading into the forest and having to radio back a password before the other contestants realize they're gone. Let's move on to the missions. Let's face it, the missions overall feel just too detached from the core strategy of the game. A carefully crafted mission can do more than just earn money for the pot. Let's introduce games where the traitor's decisions actively affect the gameplay. A perfect example is the American Season 3 chess game, where players had to guess the traitor's answers to loaded questions which would reveal information about their mindset. We can also have a mission in the style of the game show The Hustler. The traitors are actually given the answers to the game beforehand. especially missions that include puzzles, codes, or escape rooms. It's only after the mission that the host announces to the players that the traitors knew the answers before the game started. This forces players to recall who was suspiciously too helpful. Missions can incorporate more dilemmas similar to the first mission of the third season of the UK version. Players had to find crates worth money, but also crates that had gunpowder. Finding all the crates that contained money added the max value for the mission, but collecting enough gunpowder to destroy a statue would prevent the traitors from murdering that night. What this does: traitors can subtly manipulate missions to deflect suspicion or place blame. Faithful can finally use mission behavior as ammo for the round table. And two-part challenges work extremely well. Traitors will have different agendas. It won't sacrifice the money, but would cast suspicion based on their performance. Time to incorporate the SEER. I've already talked at length about this power in previous videos, but I'm going to incorporate the optimal version for this design of my perfect season. Let's introduce the SEER after a few episodes. The player who did the best or earned the most money during the missions will gain this ability for one round. A small change from how the SEER is currently being used is that the host will not announce who has this ability. The SEER will call a chosen player to a secret location where that player will disclose their faction. However, they also will not know the identity of the SEER. This will continue for majority of the show, but only for the last 2 or 3 missions will the players meet face to face. What this does: the SEER can remain anonymous and then choose how they use this information. There is a potential for multiple people to have been the SEER at one point, encouraging people to collaborate on information. This information won't always be concrete because remember, recruitments can still happen. You may think that this puts the traitors at a massive disadvantage, but remember that other players still have to choose to believe the SEER. The current social standing that a player has will determine how others will perceive them. This mechanic allows a traitor to potentially be a SEER as well, and this can exponentially increase the number of strategies. Because the SEER remains anonymous, this means that anyone can claim to be them. A savvy player can sow discourse or control the narrative. It all depends on the alliances that they've built or their ability to get others to believe what they say. Yes, there is a strategy for the faithful players who are chosen to be seen to just come out and tell the group that they were chosen. This would work because only the faithful would really do this. If this is a concern, the SEER could also just choose a player to see without that player knowing that they were chosen. And finally, face-to-face meetings towards the back half of the game will just spike that tension. This will just encourage craftier play as the endgame approaches. And lastly, let's talk about that endgame. I love the introduction of keeping the final banishment a secret, especially in the US and UK versions. It stops the players from just relying on the count and forces them to truly trust their instincts. I am so in favor of the Fire of Truth. That endgame is so dramatic, especially if you saw the second season of the US version. I mean, my god. Throwing bags into the fire, possible revotes, I mean, it all works. I know you really can't do this in Australia or New Zealand, since those take place in a hotel and a cottage respectively, but I love me a dramatic ending, so you know what? Let's keep it. I know the US version doesn't do this, but other versions incorporate a split or steal option, especially if traitors make it to the very end. And this is a prisoner's dilemma situation where there's a possibility for no one to walk away with the money. Apparently this was poorly received for the Australian version. I mean, why would you even introduce this? It seems like a waste of time, so let's just do away with that. If you make it to the end and your faction wins, then your faction wins. And believe it or not, that is my blueprint for the perfect season of the Traitors. My parting wish is this. In the US version, I'm specifically talking to you. Are you listening? Turn up the volume because I want you to hear this. Let civilians play. Hey look, I'm a big fan of competition shows in general, but I'm of the mindset of not giving people who have money more money. I'm not sure if the American version was afraid that no one was gonna watch this show, but other versions have done extremely well with newcomers. I want to see fresh faces becoming well known from this show, like other shows have done for those people. I don't want this to become a hub where Survivor, Big Brother, or the Challenge players go to have a second wind. If you can make that happen, I could possibly be a bigger fan than I already am. There you have it. That has been my layout for the perfect season of the Traitors. But I want to hear from you. Get in those comments and let me know what you think, which elements really worked, and what do you think needs some tweaking? Are there any versions of the show that you've seen that you think just nail it? Or is there a role that you think, if it's thrown in here, could truly put a spanner in the works? If you are feeling this content, guys, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. I love putting out these videos for y'all, and your support could help me continue to do so. This has been Ari Mack for the Ari Hour. I'll talk to y'all soon.